Hey, how's it going? I hope that you're doing wonderful and everything has been going well. I hope that today is a day like you can just count your blessings, because the moment you begin to count your blessings is the moment you begin to receive grace. Like I always used to wonder what like grace really is. It's like a gift. Grace is a gift. So when you're counting your blessings, what you're doing is actually giving gratitude. So when you give gratitude, you're being grateful. And when you're being grateful, you're full of greatness and you're full of grace. So when you count your blessings, you receive grace. So this grace is something that is so impeccable. So when you count blessings, every time you count a blessing, what you're doing is filling yourself with greatness. That's what you're doing. So I hope you're counting your blessings like there's always something to be thankful for, no matter how hard things might seem. Because, some things might seem like they're black on black. Yeah, like some things are really hard to go through. But once you know that there's always some grace, there's always something great, you can fill yourself with that gratitude, you can fill yourself with that grace. And this is how you begin to be charitable. This is love. This is generosity. This is general. This is in your gene. It's generous. It's general. This is who you are. So when we're talking about the genes as well, we're always talking about the Genesis, where in the garden, like in the Genesis story of Adam and Eve, it's a very interesting, captivating story where the first few people are in the garden. And it is written that they are there and then they're just chilling and then they are tempted. And through this we have the first like battle of the sexes, that the first creation was Adam and Eve, both co-equal. So they were like a pair. They were like just a balanced pair. So in everything they were just the same thing. But then after that the dynamics changed. So when you realize that everything is a cycle of creation through love, through sex, through mating, because everything is made through the material of the universe. So the material that spoke the words of the universe, because universe is universe, which is one verse, one group of words. So everything is the word of God. So everything is the word, one atom. This one atom, one Adam, one word of God that created everything. And through this we have the whole world. A world is actually a word with L. L is electricity. Like L is light. Like let there be light. That is the L, the light. And through this is our life. Like Jesus Christ is actually the light of men, which is the light of life. So when we're being grateful for every day, what we're being grateful is our life, our light, knowing God, knowing love, knowing truth, knowing everything. Because let there be light is let there be awareness, let there be knowledge, let there be consciousness. So once you're conscious, you're aware. So consciousness is actually like science, like how you understand science. And science is Africa. Science is Africa. That science is birthed in Africa. Science is actually chemistry, which is chemet, which is where chemistry comes from. And that is all chemistry, alchemy. Like the alchemists were actually chemists. And all of the chemistry, all of the alchemies are from Africa. That is the science. Not only that, but also the computer systems, technology, engineering, and mathematics. All of those sciences are actually from Africa. The mathematics, the engineering, this is how in the beginning was the word. So the word is the building block of everything. So engineering is actually using words. So the first people who were the first engineers were using words. Some people actually say that the pyramids were built without using hands. The Israelites who were actually were trapped in the mind. They were slaves in the mind. This is how they were leaving Egypt. They were slaves in the mind, and then they were actually leaving Egypt. So the same way that people who are now in trapped in their mind, the people in Africa. These are the Israelites. These are the people who are trapped, right? So these are the people who are in these systems that are trapping them in the mind. So they have to leave the entrapments of the mind. This is the message of Moses letting his people free. This is what Jesus is saying, like he is there to let the captives in the mind free, so that people can actually comprehend his light, his truth, his words, his life, because light is the life. So understanding the life of Jesus is understanding the breath of Jesus. Understanding his breath is understanding his testament, understanding where he came from. A testament is actually a testicle, like that sounds crazy, but then like a testament is actually like how people used to testify. When Abraham asked his servant to go and find a wife for Isaac, he said, put your hand under my thigh, like, hey, grab my testicle and testify to me that you will not get him a wife in the land of Canaan. And then he had to go back to his land, and this is when he actually found Rebecca and just gave her this gold, like, hey, he just found her by the well, right? And it seems like these men seem to always find these women by the wells, right? And then he made a prayer to God so that he could actually see if she was the one, and then she was the one. And then he married Isaac through that, and this is where Israel comes from. This is where Israelites come from. This is where his real lights come from. So this is the testimony. This is the New Testament, the Old Testament, and understanding that even though they went, like his Israelites, Joseph went to Egypt. Even though he went to Egypt, it was also the other testimony, the second testimony, the second testicle that said that his son went to Israel, Jacob, and went to, and put his hand under his thigh again to testify that he will not be buried in Egypt, but he will actually leave that land. So he had to leave this mental hierarchy. This is actually the understanding of leaving Egypt, that it is to leave this hierarchy, this understanding, and it is knowing the life of God, it is knowing the life of Christ, and understanding this is understanding his light, his truth, because he says that the life is actually the light of man. This is the life of God. So his life is the light. So understanding this is understanding his truth and his words. And truth is just one thing, like understanding his truth, like one thing. So this is how you actually leave Israel, leave Egypt, and have his real light. And this is all the power and all of the electricity that you have in your mind. And through this you have the awareness of God in all of us. This is Emmanuel. This is I am with you. This is God within. So this is having the light of God within. So so understanding that this is all about the light, the life of Christ, his breath, how he actually took a breath. So how he actually used to live, and how he lived is also so important, that he lived for a certain number of years. He lived for 33 years, and in all of this he did a certain number of things that had all a certain set of meanings, and understanding these meanings is also understanding his light and his life. So this is why it's important to understand this. So all things like just boil down to like this sex, that even the whole world, like it is said to be like this Mother Earth. When you read Proverbs chapter 8, it actually says that wisdom is this woman. This woman is called Sophia, and this Sophia is called philosophy. So philosophy is, philo is love, Sophia is the wisdom. So philosophy is the love of Sophia, the love of this woman, because wisdom is that endearing, it's that caring, it's like a mother, it's like a sister, it's like a child, it's wise, because a woman is wise. So it has this mother nature aspect to it. So this is actually wisdom, Sophia. It's a woman, and everything was created on the earth, and in that Sophia is actually saying that, like, without me was nothing created, in the same way that in John, without the word was nothing created. So this is the engineering, the how the words are actually used as engineering. The words create the universe. The words are the building blocks of the universe. So understanding the right words is understanding the word of God, who is Emmanuel, who is the light within, who is dwelling within. The words within, this is how people are defiled from within, not from without, right? Even though, like, you're not gonna eat like contaminated food and feel okay, right? But then this is the understanding that you're contaminated from within, because this is where his real light is. This is where your testimony is, and your DNA. This is your testimony. This is the testicle that actually created the promises, because all of this is just about the oaths that God made, the promises he actually made when he ordained the stars and say that, hey, you're supposed to be there, you're supposed to be there. And what caused everything was disobedience, right? So whatever shape, form, or fashion that disobedience was, it was in God's wisdom. So this is understanding the battle of the sexes, that after the garden there was inequality between Adam and Eve, and through this there has been a battle of the sexes, that woman has been trying to regain her lost position, because they used to be equal. So now there's this thing about gender equality, and this is stemmed from the understanding that they used to be equal, but they weren't after something happened. So this is actually a fact. So understanding that all of this was the idea of obedience. Woman is actually stronger than men. That's why she's weaker than men. Women are stronger than men. This is not debatable. Women are stronger than men. It's a fact. So this is why they're weaker than men. This is the same way that the older will lead the younger. This is understanding Bibles. This is understanding that the Old and the New Testament. Jesus is the younger who is the older, and he leads the younger, right? Because Jesus was there before in the Old Testament, but he is the New Testament, so he is before. Being forward is to be before. So that's why Jesus is before. When John is saying that he is before me, like there's one before me who is coming to baptize you so and so, he's talking about one who is behind, like being forward. So he came first, and then John came second. So the older will lead the younger, but he is after. But he comes after John, but he is before John. So understanding that the Bible is interesting in that way, that when you read it, you're actually looking at the way that things are generated and how things are sometimes actually misused. Because people who understand this don't always, like, people who understand this are some of the people who are trying to tell you these things, and some of the people who are trying not to tell you these things. So it's important to know that the God is within you. This is why he is the light, and he is your life. Like, this is how you give your life to him, right? To understand his life through your life, to understand your life through his life. This is just the light. This is to see in a different way. This is how you're born again. This is how you see, right? So this light is actually the fire. This is how he baptizes you in fire, and he baptizes you in spirit. So he baptizes you in air and fire, and John is in water, and then everyone is born of earth. So all of the four elements are in everybody. So you have the earth, because everyone's made from the sand. Like he gave breath to the sand, so he gave the earth the air, and then through this he got the fire, and through this he got the water. He started sweating. So all of these elements are in everybody. So understanding that this is the whole cycle of life, and this is creativity, this is the breath of life. So every life has all of these facets, all of the four facets, the four parts in your heart, and the four sides in your faces, and all of the four attributes that we have, the same as the attributes of God. And this is the logos, right? The logo. So understanding that everything is that sex and that creativity, right? Is to know that through this battle of the sexes, what is now happening are things that this to him who has, like, more will be given, and to him who has not, even what he has will be taken away. Because some of these things are happening in this way in such a time when there's so much massive injustice to so many different people, but people direct their attention to things that are not going to like, they direct their things to certain things that they're told to direct their attention to. So understanding that you always have a choice of where you want to direct your attention to is to understand the story of the talents. Like, everyone had talents. This talent is actually time, and time is money, right? So when they were given time or money, talents or gold, they the person who gave them went away, and then when he came back, he asked them what they were doing, and then one of them flipped it and doubled it, right? Doubled his time, so he was able to employ others and do something that used to work in that way. The other one also added on, and the other one buried it. So when you understand that everything that we do when we pay attention is something that we give our talents to. So what we have directed our attention to is what we're actually giving time to, what we're paying attention to. So this is the understanding of what you should be looking at, so that you can be creative in the way that you, in your mind, see the world as you are positioned in it, how you see your talent, how you can appreciate the things that are in the world. Because at the end of the day, it's about being fruitful and multiplying, and the only way to be fruitful is through sex, right? This is the only way that things meet, because of sex. So this is when the smallest cell in your body goes to the biggest cell in her body. So this is all about the opposites. So this is all about the older leading the younger. This is all about the Bible. This is all about the testimony. This is all about the testaments. This is Old Testament and New Testament. And this is sex. Like, the biggest cell in a person's body is actually that ovary. You can actually see it with the naked eye. And the smallest cell in our bodies is actually the sperm. So when it goes, it goes. So this is just the opposites that are attracting. Because the female is dormant. She's receptive. She is the black, the dark, the melanin, the intelligence, right? And then the male is the white, the blank, the bland, the blank, like just blank. But the other one is the black hole. Like, they actually say that the whole world is created, like, not the whole world actually, the whole world is created with words, which is the sand, which is the engineering, the building blocks. But our galaxy, which is the Milky Way galaxy, is created with a supermassive black hole. That's what creates it. And even though all of these black holes, there are also these smaller black holes that are so small that they can only see them through radiation. Because a black hole is when a star implodes on itself, and the pull of gravity keeps on dragging everything. So it traps everything. Not even light escapes. So this is the black, this is the feminine, and this is the dormant. And in the whole universe is actually dark matter and dark energy. This is the black. And the stars is the other reflection, which is the 20%. So this is the other side of the universe, the stars, and the dark mass, the dark energy, the dark matter is 75% of the universe. So understanding that this is just how everything is always set up, that the weaker leads the stronger, right? This is what the message is all about actually. When Esau, who is the stronger one, is led by Jacob, who is the weaker one, who actually tricked him. This is what happened, and this is a crazy story. So understanding that this is the feminine, so whenever sex is happening, this is just the opposites that are attracting. Sperm is so quick and moves a lot, but the ovary never moves. It never moves. It's so slow. It doesn't even literally. It doesn't even move. So all of this is just the cycle of life. So this is to actually be fruitful and multiply. So this is understanding the book of Ecclesiastes that says that there's a time for everything. So this is the opposite. And this person knew how to be fruitful and multiply. Solomon knew how to be fruitful and multiply. So all of this is pointing to how you should just look for the strong in the weak and the weak in the strong. This is to understand that you should be fruitful, whatever the season is. So you should have fruit no matter if the sun is shining or if it's not. No matter if you're feeling good or you're not. If you can do something, try to do it every day. Do it every day, and this creates this energy. Because, you know, sex is all about this momentum, this friction, right? And then it comes to this point whereby people have a manifestation. So this is actually what life is. This is actually what life is, because life is actually the sperm meeting the egg. That is what life is. Without that, there is no life. So that is literally what life is. Life is sex. So in sex is actually love, making love. So this is why love is like God. God is love. This is why it's important. Like, who people have sex with is important, because who people have sex with is who people have life with. This is who people mate with, because life is a matrix. So when you're mating with everything, then you're mating with I don't know how it works, but I know that life is that matrix. So knowing that you are a vortex of energy, like a black hole. This is why you have a solar plexus. So this is actually where you are fed. This is where your food comes, because you're solar powered through your solar plexus. This is what it's called. Because your feet are called planters. If you go to a doctor or if you go to a medical dictionary, open it and see that your feet are called planters. Like, this is the clinical definition of your feet. And your stomach is the planter. And you're made from the sand by God, given breath, fire, and all of the 4 elements. This is Moses and the burning bush. So you should watch that video about Moses and the burning bush and understand that this is what it is. This is the soul. The soul is the soil. So understanding that whatever you're doing is you're actually looking to cultivate whatever, even if you're like hoe. Your cultivating tool is gonna be like the actual tractor, or it's gonna be an actual like pencil, like you're a graphic designer or something crazy like that, right? So you could be like the dopest architect, but not even know it, because of how you're being programmed by the matrix, because everything is mating in that way. So how you choose to have the life of God, which is the breath of God. Knowing your life is knowing His life, right? But this is also knowing who you are. This is actually what it is, because this is the testimony. This is the testament. This is the generation. This is the gene. This is the genesis. So knowing your gene, your generation, your genesis is important. So this is why for anyone who lives on planet Earth, they should know their genesis, which is Africa. So Africa is actually the gene of everyone on earth, right? Unless, and we know this, according to the Bible, unless if you're the fallen angel, of which the fallen ones don't want you to know about Genesis, right? And this is why it's guarded by a cherubim of fire with swords every which way. Yeah, every which way. So if you know this, then, you know, what you're knowing is something that is really guarded information. So this is why you have to know it in your heart. And this is why it's the land of Punt. This is why you have to understand the land of Punt. This is Havila. Y'all don't know Havila, right? So this is Havila. And this is Zion. Zion, right? This is the house of God. This is the hill of God, the mountain of God. The mountain of God. So this is understanding love, and all is love, because everything is sex. So it's not about the battle, it's about love. It's about love in your heart.